In the heart of the New World, there should be nothing but empty sea, where legends say an island vanished without a trace. Instead, the camera rises through storm clouds and cannon smoke to reveal it. A colossal, fortified monster of stone and steel. God Valley still stands. Its walls tower like Marineford, its inner sanctums gleam like Mary Joyce, and its foundations plunge down into a prison darker than Impel Down. This is not a forgotten battlefield. This is the world government's living altar. Execution platforms crown the cliffs like thrones of judgment. Holy banners of the celestial dragons whip in the wind above rows of marine warships anchored permanently around the island. Every gun is aimed outward. Every spotlight is aimed down, watching slaves, prisoners, and condemned pirates march toward the gallows that made God Valley a force to be reckoned with. In canon, God Valley disappears after Garp and Roger defeat Rox D. Zebek, see erased from maps and memory. But what if that never happened? What if the island stayed, rebuilt and weaponized, turned into the ultimate holy battlefield where the world government shows the world its power? How would the balance between Marines, Yonko, and the Revolutionary Army shift when the greatest symbol of celestial dragon cruelty never sank beneath the waves? In this timeline, God Valley becomes the stage for every message the government wants to send. Iace's execution is no longer at Marineford, but on the same cliffs where Rox fell, his chains nailed into the scars of that legendary fight. O'Hara's knowledge is not just burned. Surviving scholars are dragged here, paraded before the world, and silenced under the shadow of those ancient ruins. Enies Lobby's Buster Call is not the end of a trail, but the beginning of a one-way trip to this cursed island, where the gate of justice opens directly into a holy slaughterhouse. Soon enough, and the emotional weight of every tragedy converges on one point on the map. Parents threaten children with the name God Valley. Pirates whisper that even death at sea is mercy compared to being taken there alive. The age of pirates had become an absolute mess, but this island turns that chaos into a carefully managed culling. And the ripples from that decision reach back to the legends themselves. Maybe Rox is truly dead, or maybe his body and his devil fruit were studied in laboratories buried beneath the island, turning God Valley into a research graveyard for forbidden powers. Garp is still the hero of the Marines, but his title is carved into the very fortress that reminds him daily of the celestial dragons he once protected. Roger's legend is retold not just as the man who reached Laugh-Tale, but as the pirate who fought beside a future enemy and left behind a battlefield that never stopped bleeding. Now with God Valley alive, every journey bends around it. Marineford is no longer the highest stage of justice. It is a forward base feeding into the island's maw. The Yonko era forms in the shadow of this permanent holy war zone, their territories mapped by how close their flags dare to fly to its guns. Luffy's path through the New World, the Reverie, even the promised final war, all have to reckon with an island that refuses to vanish. Because in this world, the last battlefield might not be Mary Joyce at all, but the same cursed shore where Garp and Roger once stood together, and that changes everything. Rewinding canon, the real God Valley incident, and its aftermath. Before this alternate God Valley can rewrite the seas, the original legend has to be laid bare. In canon, God Valley was not a holy land, it was a hunting ground. Celestial dragons gathered there for a grotesque game, landing on the island with chains, collars, and bored smiles, treating slaves as moving targets. The rules were simple: chase, torment, and kill. The Marines nearby were not there to protect the weak. They were there to protect the hunt. But the prey did not stay quiet. Among the slaves and targets were people desperate enough to fight back. And soon enough, that cruelty drew in the one crew mad enough to challenge the world government on its own stage, the Rox Pirates. Their arrival meant that God Valley, already dripping with sin, had become an absolute mess, an island of nobles, slaves, marines, and the most dangerous pirates alive. Rox D. Zebek stood at the center of it. A man obsessed with becoming king of the world, wielding ambition like a devil fruit of pure chaos. Around him, monsters gathered, a younger Whitebeard swinging his Bicento, Big Mom already a force to be reckoned with, Kaido still a brutal apprentice, Shiki with his flying blades, and other killers whose names history barely dares to whisper. This was not a normal crew. This was a powder keg. Their presence turned the hunt into a war. The Rox pirates clashed with the world government's forces, and the island shook as slaves tried to flee between shockwaves. But what if the Marines alone were not enough to stop Rock's dream of toppling the celestial dragons? That is exactly what happened. The situation escalated so far that an impossible alliance formed. Gol D. Roger and Monkey D. Garp fighting side by side. A pirate destined to become the Pirate King, and a Marine who believed in justice, standing together to protect celestial dragons and slaves they did not even respect. How would the world have reacted if they had refused? Their decision meant that, for one day, ideals bent before necessity. Roger saw Rox as a rival too dangerous to leave alive. Garp saw civilians and children who would die if Rox won. Their combined haki, strength, scent, and battle instinct turned God Valley into a legendary battlefield. The result was decisive. Rox D. Zebek fell, his crew shattered. Garp walked away with the title Hero of the Marines, but the price was silence. After that, God Valley vanished from maps and records. The island was erased, like O'Hara, swallowed by a conspiracy so deep that even most Marines had never heard its name. Only whispers remained. Sengoku's briefing, rumors of the day Roger and Garp joined hands, and the sudden collapse of the most terrifying crew in history. That single erasure reshaped the seas. Rock's fall created a vacuum. Roger's legend rose, his path toward Laugh-Tale now unobstructed by a rival aiming for the entire world. Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido scattered, eventually becoming emperors who would dominate the New World and set the stage for Marineford, the Straw Hats' training, and the Great Pirate Era itself. But the absence of God Valley as a visible scar helped bury one of the world's darkest secrets. In other words, the age Luffy sails in is built on a battlefield that officially does not exist. So what happens when that battlefield never disappears at all? If the island stayed, redesigning the world government's ultimate fortress. So what happens when that battlefield never disappears at all? Imagine if the place that even the celestial dragons feared had not been erased, but rebuilt. Then not as a memory, but as a monument. But what if God Valley became the world government's ultimate answer to chaos, a living Marineford in the middle of the New World? In this timeline, the island is not wiped from the map. It is claimed. The scars of the Rox War are paved over with stone and steel until God Valley turns into a hyper-fortified emblem of absolute control. Towering seawalls, even higher than Marineford's, encircle the coastline, are bristling with cannons capable of a buster call on demand. At the center, a colossal judicial pillar rises like Enies Lobby's Tower of Justice, a place where sentences are decided long before any trial begins. Above it all, a gleaming holy district is constructed, a miniature Mary Jouais suspended over the battlefield, reserved for the celestial dragons' games. The island is layered like a vertical nightmare. But at the top lies heaven, a pristine sky-level terrace where celestial dragons arrive in bubble-coated ships, guarded by pacifistas and the strongest CP units. Here, culls, slave auctions, and ceremonial hunts are hosted as entertainment, just like Sabaody had become an absolute mess whenever nobles wanted new toys. Only this time, the prey is brought directly from the New World. Captured pirates, rebellious kingdoms, even dangerous bloodlines that the government wants erased quietly. And beneath that, the middle zone becomes a marine command hub that makes G1 and G5 look tiny. Massive docks for warships, transponder snail relays mapping every nearby sea current, and Haki monitoring units tracking powerful signatures across Yonko territory. How would the balance of power look when a buster call can launch from the heart of the New World instead of from Marineford's safer waters? Every major shipping lane bends around God Valley's guns, and even emperors have to factor its range into every move. Then there is the part no citizen ever hears about. Deep below the surface, God Valley hides a prison laboratory that rivals Impel Down. Failed experiments with devil fruit grafting, bloodline research linked to the Void Century, and test subjects pulled from cleansed islands are all buried in the dark. Publicly, the island is framed as a sacred memorial to the heroic victory over Rox Dzigzebek, as the place where Garp and Roger supposedly saved the world. Secretly, it is a live arena where that same war never really ended. Strategically, this changes everything. Revolutionary cells in the New World find their roots constantly exposed. Yonko supply lines run under the gaze of God Valley's observation units. Any gathering that looks like a future Marineford-level war can be preemptively crushed by fleets stationed right there, a force to be reckoned with, anchored in the center of the storm. Soon enough, even log poses begin to betray the island's presence, their needles bending ever so slightly toward that oppressive fortress. Pirates whisper God Valley like a curse, the way rookies whisper Impel Down or Eni's Lobby. And on a map of the New World, the island sits like a nail hammered straight into its heart, while something buried beneath it starts to stir. Rox, Garp, Aim and Roger rewritten. Who really won God Valley? And that is where the official story starts to crack. If God Valley still stands as a monument in the New World, then the idea that Rox Dzigzebek simply died and disappeared becomes harder to swallow. This was a man who challenged the world government head-on, commanded monsters like Whitebeard and Big Mom, and knew secrets even the celestial dragons feared. But what if eliminating him outright meant losing a living archive of forbidden history? How would the world government really treat a mind that dangerous? In this timeline, God Valley is not just a fortress. It is a lid. Beneath the pristine plazas and execution platforms, the lowest levels descend past even Impel Down's nightmares. Chains etched with strange symbols, Haki suppressing devices, maybe even experimental devil fruit restraints are all focused on a single purpose: keeping Rox contained, conscious, and interrogated for decades. To the world, he is a legend who fell. Under the island, he is a question the government cannot stop asking. That changes Garp completely. In canon, Hero of the Marines comes from one impossible victory: a single day where he and Roger stood together. Here, his title is chained to a place. Every few years, when the balance of power starts to shake, the celestial dragons drag Garp back to God Valley as a symbol and a guard dog. Protect the island, protect the secret, protect the ones he despises. Each visit forces him to walk the same halls where slaves once screamed and where his greatest moral compromise began. Over time, that repeated pilgrimage turns Garp's heroism into something darker. The Marines hail him as a force to be reckoned with, the man who keeps God Valley unbreakable. But walking past the reinforced depths, hearing the distant roar of a monster that refuses to die, his hatred for the celestial dragons only grows. The hero who saved them is now the jailer who keeps their worst enemy alive. Roger, on the other hand, does not leave God Valley unchanged either. Surviving that battle while the island remains means he glimpses its true purpose. Maybe he sees ancient inscriptions in a sealed chamber, or a half-buried weapon that reacts to his haki in a way even his crew cannot explain. Maybe during the chaos he senses something beneath the island that feels eerily similar to the presence later felt near Laugh-Tale. After that, his journey is no longer just about adventure or treasure. God Valley becomes proof that the world government is hiding more than power. It is hiding memory. The next time Roger hears whispers about the Void Century or an ancient weapon, the image of that island's foundations flashes in his mind. The path to Laugh-Tale is no longer random. It is a direct challenge to the same force that turned God Valley into a holy battlefield. For the celestial dragons, the incident does not inspire caution. It inspires arrogance. God Valley becomes their Marineford in the New World, a proof of dominance carved into the sea. This is the place where rocks fell, where even traitorous emperors were broken, where any pirate bold enough to threaten their rule will be dragged and displayed. Public executions, rigged hunts, and staged wars all happen under those immaculate banners, as if the island itself is a permanent replay of their greatest victory. Soon enough, that spectacle spreads into the underworld. Brokers and warlords whisper that the island's foundations go deeper than any chart shows. Some say an ancient weapon fragment is buried there, a failed prototype the government is still trying to control. Others insist a living voice echoes in the depths, laughing at admirals and begging for a real fight. And then there are the quiet, careful rumors that reach two very specific ears: a rising pirate obsessed with darkness and inheritance, and a revolutionary who hates the celestial dragons even more than Garp does. If Blackbeard hears that the soul of the old age is chained under God Valley, the island becomes more than a fortress. It becomes an opportunity. If Dragon hears that forbidden history is being dissected beneath a holy stage, God Valley becomes a target. By the time the age of Luffy and the Straw Hats begins, the map is already loaded. Marineford is the face of justice, Mary Geoise is the throne, but God Valley is the wound that never closed. Every major power knows that if a final war breaks out, and the island that had become an absolute mess decades ago might be the place where everything started, and where everything is meant to end. A holy battlefield in the New World, how God Valley warps the Yonko era. And in this altered new world, that wound never scabs over, because now, God Valley is not a rumor on an erased map. It is a blazing holy fortress planted right inside Yonko waters. Instead of a distant Marineford and a hidden Mary Geoise, the seas form a new triangle of power. Marineford guarding the first half of the Grand Line, Mary Geoise looming above the Red Line, and God Valley glaring out like a sanctified cannon aimed at the New World itself. This means every Emperor's Sea is suddenly within reach of justice. A buster call no longer needs weeks of travel. Admirals can sail from God Valley into Big Mom's candy-colored nightmare, or Kaido's thunderous skies in days. Patrol routes, supply lines, even world government trade ships bend around this island, turning the second half of the Grand Line into a permanent holy battlefield instead of a distant pirate playground. How would the monsters of the old Rocks crew react to that? Whitebeard, who values his family above everything, is not going to park his children next to a marine artillery shrine. In this timeline, his territories likely stretch in an arc that deliberately skirts God Valley's maximum deployment range, recreating a buffer of allied islands and safe currents, protecting Fishman Island, guarding his flag villages. All of that now means calculating how close an admiral can launch a surprise fight from that sanctified harbor. Big Mom, on the other hand, plays a different game. Her twisted dream of a family made from every race gives her leverage that the celestial dragons secretly crave. But what if she turns Tato Land into a dark partner of God Valley? In exchange for rare slaves, food shipments, and captured giants, she might win accidental blind spots in marine patrols. Tea parties become negotiation tables where CP0 agents attend in masks, and the line between Holy Authority and Yonko Terror had become an absolute mess. Kaido sees something else when he looks at that island. A stage. The same battlefield where rocks fell, where Garp and Roger once fought side by side. For a beast obsessed with war and glorious death, God Valley is the ultimate boss arena. His raids on marine convoys are no longer random. They are pressure tests, probing the fortress, searching for the day he can turn that holy ground into his final fight. To keep this pressure cooker under control, the Shichibukai system evolves into something even darker. Warlords are not just tolerated pirates, they are semi-domesticated hounds paraded through God Valley. mandatory summits drag Crocodile, Mihawk, Doflamingo, and others into the island's shadow. Forced to sit under celestial dragon gaze. Some are ordered to keep their main bases within God Valley's operational radius. Others are thrown into brutal demonstration hunts on nearby islands, publicly executing captured pirates and escaped slaves to prove loyalty. For the Revolutionary Army, this is both a gift and a nightmare. Dragon finally has a visible, concrete symbol of celestial dragon cruelty in the New World, a place where slave auctions, secret experiments, and holy tournaments of execution are not rumors, but scheduled events. Attacking it would send a louder message than Eni's lobby, than Marineford, than any blown-up flag. But storming God Valley means charging into a hornet's nest. Admirals on standby, CP0 in the walls, holy knights guarding underground secrets, and pacifista patrols circling the skies. Pattern break. Imagine Sabo, not at Dressrosa, but staring up at God Valley's banners, flame clenched in his fist, realizing that one wrong move could trigger a global war before the Revolutionary Army is ready. Soon enough, every major storyline is pulled toward this island, whether the players want it or not. Shanks's quiet negotiations with the Gorosei? Those happen with God Valley's silhouette on the horizon, because that's where the balance of fear is set. Blackbeard's schemes to steal devil fruits and topple emperors, they start to look like rehearsals for a final raid on the Holy Fortress itself. On even Luffy and the Straw Hats, stronger from their training and already a force to be reckoned with after Marineford, cannot chart a course through the New World without God Valley's gravity bending their path. In this world, the New World is not just a sea of emperors, it is a chessboard, and God Valley is the blood-stained center square that every king, tyrant, and rebel must eventually step onto, or be erased from the game. Luffy's route recharted, from Sabaody to a world with God Valley. And right in the middle of that blood-stained chessboard sails a rubber pirate who punches dragons. Sabaody Archipelago had become an absolute mess after the worst generation gathered there. In canon, that one punch to a celestial dragon already meant an admiral, pacifistas, and total disaster. But what if, in a world where God Valley never vanished? But that punch carried an even darker sentence. Offenders are not just arrested, they are shipped to God Valley for public punishment. In this timeline, the moment Luffy's fist caves in Charlos's face, every bystander goes pale for a different reason. The word God Valley hangs in the air like a curse. Pirates know what it means. Slaves know even better. Being marked by a Tenryubito on Sabaody does not just lead to Marineford. It leads to the island where celestial dragons hunt slaves for sport, and where legends are executed as a warning to the sea. After that punch, the Marines quickly move in, and Kizaru soon arrives to take care of the mess, just like before. But his orders have changed. Under the God Valley Doctrine, admirals are not simply there to suppress, they are there to harvest. High-value criminals, rare races, powerful devil fruit users, all are potential entertainment and research material for the arenas and labs on God Valley. Luffy, Zoro, Kid, Law, even Rayleigh himself become walking bounties for that hellish island. Kuma's role twists with it. In canon, he saves the Straw Hats by scattering them across the world. Here, his secret mission as a revolutionary weapon is at war with the world government's demand. Send them to God Valley. Every paw print becomes a gamble. Some supernovas vanish in blasts of air and later wake up in chains beneath a holy coliseum. Others, like the Straw Hats, are flung to training grounds instead. And because Kuma bets everything on their future, how would the war at Marineford change if God Valley is already collecting monsters in the background? News of this island circulates like a ghost story in every bar and slave auction. Rumors say fishmen are taken there for special games in underwater arenas. Giants are pitted against sea kings. Failed rebellions and not at Marineford's scaffold, but under God Valley's spotlights. Luffy hears the name in passing long before Ace's execution is announced, filed away as one more injustice to punch someday. For Robin, the pattern is terrifyingly familiar. O'Hara was erased from maps. God Valley was supposed to be erased too. Yet here it stands, a holy battlefield tied to forbidden history, guarded like a second Marie-Joise. Jinbei recognizes it from hushed whispers in Fishman Island's slums. Son, where parents warn their children that disobedient fishmen disappear to the Valley of Gods and never come back. So as the Straw Hats grow stronger from their training and sail toward the era of Summit War, God Valley is not just a name in Sengoku's briefing. It is the place where the world government sends messages to the entire world in blood. And the next message is about to involve the Fire Fist, because when Ace's execution is announced, it is not Marineford that becomes the stage. It is God Valley. And that changes everything about the war that's coming next. Marineford moved. Ace's execution on the blood-soaked stage of God Valley. God Valley is no longer a rumor from Garp's half-drunken stories. It becomes the headline. The place where rocks fell, where celestial dragons once screamed for help, is named as the stage where the son of the Pirate King will die. In canon, Marineford was chosen because it was safe, central, and easy to broadcast. Yes, but what if the world government decided that safety was less important than symbolism? The announcement is clear. Ace will not be executed in the Marine's backyard. He will be executed on the holy battlefield of God Valley, the island that had become an absolute mess decades ago when Garp and Roger allied to crush Rox Deeks Zebek. This is not logistics. This is propaganda. Killing Goldie. Sir Roger's son on the same soil where the last great D-bearing monster fell sends a message that even the most stubborn pirate can understand. 2D legacies. One island, one stage-managed execution that is meant to prove that any will of D, any inherited will be snuffed out under the gaze of the celestial dragons. How would the world react when that image is burned into every transponder snail across the seas? To make that image real, God Valley is weaponized. Over the years, as the world government has turned it into a fortress deep in the New World, ringed by natural maelstroms and jagged rock fields that tear apart ordinary ships. Below the cliffs, Sea King-infested trenches coil like living moats, engineered and baited by science divisions that treat the island as a laboratory of fear. Getting to Marineford meant charging a straight line through organized fleets. Getting to God Valley means surviving the ocean itself before the war even starts. For Whitebeard, that changes everything. His fleet now has to push past Yonko territories, marine blockades, and Cypher Pole kill zones just to reach the execution platform. Every ally called to this war understands that this is not just a rescue. It is an invasion of the government's most sacred killing ground. The old man is still a force to be reckoned with, but even for him, this is a nightmare route. And because it is God Valley, more players are dragged in. The Celestial Dragons schedule a cleansing of slaves to coincide with Ace's execution, turning the day into a festival of cruelty. Dragon cannot ignore that. An island that already symbolizes the worst of the world nobles is about to host another mass cull, broadcast live. Revolutionary commanders whisper that striking there would shake the entire system. Shanks, too, is pulled closer than he ever wanted. In canon, he walks into Marineford. Here, but he has to negotiate at the doorstep of God Valley itself, facing admirals and Gorosei envoys under the shadows of the same palaces where Rox once tried to slaughter the dragons. His red-haired crew lingers at the horizon, their presence alone threatening to turn any misstep into a three-way disaster. Blackbeard watches all of this and sees more than a devil fruit. Beneath God Valley's surface lie old laboratories, sealed vaults, and whispers of forbidden research tied to the Void Century. If he can slip through the chaos, he might steal power older than the Marines themselves. And somewhere far away, on the Sunny, the Straw Hats listen to the news. The war is not at Marineford at all. It is at the cursed island whose name has haunted the seas for decades. God Valley is back on the board, and soon enough, so are they. Storm over a cursed island. Visualizing the war for God Valley. God Valley is not a rumor anymore. It is the war. The cameras pan in, and the battlefield unfolds like a scar the world never let heal. Jagged cliffs rise out of the Black Sea, still carved by the ancient clash between Rocks, Garp, and Roger. Whole chunks of coastline look bitten away, replaced by gleaming holy palaces fused into the rock. Balconies of gold and glass hanging over execution platforms that drop straight into the waves. Below them, marine fortresses sprawl across the island, thicker and taller than Marineford ever was. Every wall bristles with cannons and railgun-like batteries. Pacifista docks line the lower terraces, steel walkways crawling with robots charging under floodlights. Denden Mushi towers blink red through a storm-choked sky, transmitting the scene to every corner of the Grand Line. Lightning crawls through the clouds, turning the palaces and bastions into silhouettes over a cursed arena. This is Marineford, Ini's lobby, and Mary Joyce, welded together into one holy battlefield. Then the sea itself rises up in rebellion. Whitebeard slams his Bacento down, and the quake-tilted ocean rears into twin tsunamis that dwarf the outer walls. In the old war, that alone had become an absolute mess for the Marines. But this time, God Valley is prepared. Reinforced seawalls, coated in seastone and ancient alloy, grind open and redirect the waves, while Akainu hurls magma fists that boil entire crests into steam. Aokiji answers, freezing the overflow into jagged ice bridges that lock against the cliffs. The coastline reshapes in real time, becoming a maze of lava rivers and frozen causeways. Above, experimental weather tech stolen from Skypiea crackles to life. Enel like lightning cannons firing lances of blue light straight into Whitebeard's fleet. How would the world react, watching divine judgment rain down on pirates in real time? On the ground, the camera drops into chaos, so slaves in chains are marched along those same ice bridges toward the central arena, their ankles bound with sea stone, their faces lit by explosions from clashing commanders. Celestial dragons lounge in bulletproof skyboxes carved into the palaces, domes of transparent alloy shielding them as they sip wine and point at the battlefield like it is theater. Below, rows of lower-ranked Marines tremble, rifles shaking as Yonko commanders crash into the front lines. So one swing from Jozu shatters a bastion. Marco's blue flames carve through pacifista ranks. Then the Straw Hats arrive, stronger from their training, and the entire formation buckles. Zoro's blades flash through stone and steel. Sanji's kicks ignite the rain itself. Even veteran vice admirals realize, too late, that this alliance is a force to be reckoned with. Above it all, Haki roars. Conqueror's Haki from Whitebeard, Luffy, and the top commanders collides over the exact ground where Garp and Roger once cracked the sky. The clouds split, revealing for a heartbeat the full shape of God Valley's cratered heart. Logia and Paramecia powers tear open old scars in the bedrock, exposing buried ruins and half-erased symbols tied to the Void Century. Then the feed cuts to the center of it all. A colossal execution plaza has been built directly over the spot where Rocks supposedly fell. A deliberate monument to the world government's greatest victory. Ace kneels there, chains running from his cuffs into the platform itself, seastone glinting under the stormlight. The cameras zoom in on his bowed head, on the brand of Whitebeard on his back, on the shadow of the executioners behind him. The whole world watches the most cursed island on the map, waiting to see if history will repeat. But what if this time, on God Valley, it breaks instead? Whitebeard, Shanks, Dragon, and Blackbeard, 4 emperors of the final stage. God Valley is no longer just an execution ground. It is the wound the world government turned into a monument, and now Whitebeard is sailing straight for the scar. In Marineford, his anger was terrifying. But here, on the island where Rocks fell and the celestial dragons celebrated their greatest victory, that rage mutates into something else. This is not only about Ace anymore. Oh, every quake that tears through the holy cliffs feels like an attempt to erase God Valley itself, to shatter the stage where the old era was slaughtered and displayed as justice. The first shockwave hits and entire outer bastions crumble, the sea itself rearing up like it is recoiling from his devil fruit. Whitebeard's haki roars over the island, clashing with the layered barriers, pacifista lines, and seraphim patrols that had become an absolute mess under emergency orders. And for the celestial dragons watching from armored vaults, it is as if the ghost of their greatest traitor has come back wearing the body of a Yonko. But what if this time, the other emperors do not stay in the shadows? Shanks does not intercept Kaido in some distant stretch of sea. He appears at God Valley's perimeter, the red force cutting through the storm wall that usually swallows any intruder. His arrival slams the brakes on the Admiral's advance. On one side, Kizaru's light, the Fujitora's gravity, a fleet of warships bristling with cannons. On the other, Shanks, Ben Beckman, and a crew that every Marine knows is a force to be reckoned with. Swords are drawn, but sheathed. The air itself is tense. Shanks demands a limit to the slaughter, demands that this war not turn into a second Rocks incident. How would the Gorosei respond when a Yonko is negotiating at the gates of their sacred battlefield with the whole world watching? Meanwhile, a dragon never shows his face on the broadcast. Revolutionary ships lurk in the swirling storms around God Valley, masked by weather that once hid Rock's approach. To Dragon, Ace is important, but the slaves in the underground pens are the real objective. Every tremor from Whitebeard, every standoff Shanks forces, is a potential breach to exploit. Revolutionary agents slip through collapsing tunnels, aiming to free captives, steal research on ancient weapons, and plant sleepers deep inside the island's infrastructure. And in the lowest levels, deeper than even the celestial dragons like to remember, another shadow moves. Blackbeard is not satisfied with stealing one devil fruit anymore. The legends of Rocks, the whispers that God Valley's disappearance from history hid more than a simple victory, have twisted into obsession. He uses the chaos of the surface war to slip through forgotten shafts, hunting for any vault, and any sealed chamber that might hold a fragment of an ancient weapon, or even the remnants of Xebek's will. Soon enough, God Valley is no longer a single war. It is 3 overlapping battles: Whitebeard's invasion for Ace, Dragon's silent revolt for the slaves, and Blackbeard's descent for the secrets buried where history itself was almost erased. And as the cameras struggle to track it all, one question hangs over the world. Which of these wars will actually decide the future of the sea? Is God Valley's hidden core, ancient weapons, void century, and Rock's ghost? And the reason that question matters is hidden right under their feet. God Valley is not just a holy hunting ground. In this timeline, its survival means the world government has turned it into something far worse, a secret research core where the void century itself is put on the dissecting table. The isolation that once let celestial dragons hunt slaves now lets scientists in white coats hunt history. And poneglyph fragments are chained in seastone frames. Stolen inscriptions from Ohara, Skypia, even Wano are carved into the walls like trophies. Here, Vegapunk's abandoned notes mix with nameless researchers, testing ancient weapon-adjacent technology. Beams that mimic Pluton's shockwaves on a smaller scale. Sea prism conduits designed to drain devil fruit power from living captives. Blood labs that map out the strange resilience of the D. To clan uns and the unruly lineages that keep birthing monsters like Rocks, Luffy, and Blackbeard. God Valley had become an absolute mess long before this war started. The difference is that now, the world is watching it fall apart on screen. Beneath the execution plaza, the real prize waits, a sealed chamber, older than Marineford, older than the current Holy Land itself. No one on the surface agrees on what is actually locked there. Some admirals are told it holds the Preserved, a barely living husk of Rock's D. Xebek, sustained as a test subject to understand why the D are a force to be reckoned with. Others whisper that it is a proto-Pluton engine, an incomplete weapon from the last war against the ancient kingdom. The highest elders insist it is only an archive, a harmless void century vault. But what if all three rumors are true at once? The moment the war reaches its peak, that question stops being theoretical. As Whitebeard's Gura. Gura quakes tear through the holy architecture. Cracks race down the plaza, splitting gilded statues of celestial dragons and punching straight into the bedrock. Kizaru's light, Akainu's magma, Aokiji's ice collide and refract through buried machinery, overloading generators that were never meant to be hit by Yonko-level Haki and Devil Fruit power. Soon enough, the island literally opens its mouth. Entire blocks slide into chasms, and exposing glass tubes holding failed bloodline experiments, shattered poneglyph shards, and half-fossilized war machines. Den Mushi cameras scrambling to keep up accidentally catch a glimpse of a massive door marked with the same strange sigils Robin once saw in O'Hara's forbidden basement. Dragon's agents dive for the archives. Blackbeard, laughing in the chaos, lunges toward whatever is sealed below, convinced that the darkness of history will only make him stronger. And a lone cloaked figure, maybe Robin, maybe another survivor of O'Hara's research, reads a single line on a half-buried tablet and freezes. How would the Marines react when, in the same frame, the world sees celestial dragons firing at chained children and scientists cataloging D-clan corpses like insects? Ordinary soldiers hesitate. Their justice was built on protecting this place. Now the broadcast shows that God Valley is not a symbol of order, but the engine of a centuries-long purge. And pirates realize their fight was never just about treasure or titles. It was about stopping a cycle that started when this island first became a laboratory. And as towers collapse, every falling stone leaks another secret. In the end, the greatest casualty of this war might not be a single emperor, admiral, or legend, but the world government's monopoly on truth itself. Because once God Valley's core is exposed, the question is no longer whether the world will change, but who will seize that broken truth first. A world after God Valley, new Yonko, broken Marines, and a shaken reverie. And once that broken truth is out, the island itself refuses to fade back into legend. God Valley is still there, scarred, cratered, maybe half-sunk, but towering over the New World horizon like a permanent accusation aimed at the heavens. In canon, as Marineford's fall is the image burned into history. Whitebeard's corpse, Ace's death, the symbol of marine power cracking on live broadcast. But what if Ace lives in this timeline, and God Valley is the one that burns instead? Whether Ace survives thanks to Luffy's stronger Haki and Gear 5, or dies in the chaos, the result is the same. The Holy Island is either shattered or occupied, and that sends a deeper shockwave than any collapsing plaza. Marineford was a base. God Valley was a shrine. On every camera Den Mushi, every leaked clip of celestial dragons fleeing through fire turns God Valley into a global monument to government failure. The place that once hosted slave auctions and secret experiments now stands as a charred warning. Even the gods can bleed. After that, every pirate flag feels a little heavier, and every king watching the broadcast feels a little less safe. How would the Yonko react to that kind of vacuum? And the balance that held after Marineford had become an absolute mess here. With Marineford already humiliated by the Straw Hats and Whitebeard's victory, the second God Valley incident is the final crack. Blackbeard moves first. A man who weaponizes chaos would see those ruins as a devil fruit of land itself. Soon enough, his fleet is anchored in the crater, turning former holy ground into a pirate fortress. Shanks, who once used his influence to bargain with the Gorosei, loses that quiet leverage the moment their sacred island falls into enemy hands. A new era begins. Yonko banners nailed into the bones of God Valley, underground markets built in old laboratories, and rumors that even Rock's lingering will is buried somewhere beneath Blackbeard's throne. That island alone becomes a force to be reckoned with. For the Marines, the political fallout is brutal. Sengoku's resignation is no longer a graceful retirement after Marineford, but a desperate attempt to step away from the God Valley disaster. Akainu's promotion is framed as the only answer: absolute justice. No more compromises, no more heroes hesitating. Garp, who once earned his title at God Valley, now watches the same island fall while his grandson tears through Marine ranks. His guilt doesn't just double, it festers. Then the reverie meets again under this shadow. Our kings who once worshipped God Valley as proof that the celestial dragons could protect them now see that protection lying in ruins on their transponder snails. Dragon's message, backed by leaked footage of slaves, experiments, and panicked nobles, suddenly makes sense to rulers on the fence. The Revolutionary Army stops being a rumor and starts being an option. History itself shifts. In textbooks of this world, Marineford becomes a prelude, not the climax. But the entry that matters is simple. Year X, the Second God Valley Incident, the day the Age of Culling began to crumble and the final war truly ignited. And with God Valley now claimed by pirates, the last act of this age cannot end at Marineford or even Mary Jouaz. It has to return to the island that refuses to die. Luffy's destiny reforged, from Marineford's loss to God Valley's reckoning. And in a world where God Valley refuses to die, Luffy's breaking point doesn't happen in the shadow of Marineford's execution platform. It happens on that cursed island itself. The Second War for God Valley ends, the cannons fall silent, and the sea breeze carries the smell of gunpowder, blood, and burning chains. Luffy doesn't collapse in the plaza of Marineford. He drops to his knees on the blood-soaked shores of God Valley. Ace is alive this time, but the ground is packed with corpses, shattered holy statues, and trembling freed slaves who don't even know what freedom means. His hands shake, not because he failed to save his brother, but because he sees what Ace almost died for: an island built entirely on cages, auctions, and celestial dragon amusement. In canon, the loss at Marineford meant that Luffy's hatred was raw, unfocused, aimed at the Marines who took Ace away. But what if that trauma is fused directly with the image of God Valley? Every scream, every scar, and every memory of Ace in chains becomes tied to this one holy battlefield. From that day, his rage isn't just against Marineford as a symbol. It's against the system that created God Valley, maintained it, and tried to erase it. How would the war change a captain whose dream is freedom once he has walked through a living museum of cruelty? Luffy's training after this isn't only about getting stronger haki or mastering his devil fruit. It becomes a promise. No more islands like this. No more playgrounds for gods. When Dressrosa appears later, with toys hiding the truth and slaves trapped under Doflamingo's smile, it doesn't just remind him of Sabaody. It echoes the auction halls of God Valley. Dressrosa's living toys are just another version of the nameless slaves at God Valley, stripped of identity. Wholecake's political marriages look like a polished version of the same game that once let celestial dragons buy entire bloodlines. Now Wano's factories and prisons feel like God Valley industrialized, a production line of despair. Each time Luffy wins, each tyrant he topples, the island in his memory shakes a little more. Every victory is another step toward tearing down the original holy battlefield that had become an absolute mess. Soon enough, that vision bleeds into the final war. The world expects Mary Jouaz to be the last stage. But what if Dragon, Luffy, and their allies choose differently? I imagine a plan where the fall of God Valley is the signal flare, the opening punch before the red line itself is challenged. Revolutionary banners over the ruins, pirate flags beside them, and the Marines forced to decide which side of history they stand on. In that moment, Luffy isn't just a force to be reckoned with because of Gear 5 or some awakened power. He's the man who swore that no island would ever become another God Valley. When his dream of becoming Pirate King fuses with something sharper, a world where no one is born into chains and no sea hides a secret slaughterhouse for the gods. The question is simple and terrifying. If the final bell of this age rings at God Valley, what exactly will Luffy have to sacrifice to break that island's curse for good? Answering the what if, God Valley's price, and the shape of the final war. If the final bell rings at God Valley, and then this entire age has been circling the same cursed island from the start. The price of God Valley surviving is that the world never really left that battlefield. In this timeline, the island never vanished. It became a living fortress, a twisted blend of Marineford, Enies Lobby, and Mary Jawas planted in the New World. Ace's execution is not staged at Marineford anymore, but right on those blood-soaked cliffs, under the same sky where Garp and Roger once fought rocks. And that one decision meant that when the Summit War erupts, every faction crashes together on historically cursed ground. Marines, warlords, Yonko, Revolutionary Army agents, even surviving Rock's loyalists crawling out of the shadows. After that, the balance of power had become an absolute mess. A holy battlefield sitting in the middle of pirate territory forces Kaido, Big Mom, Shanks, and Blackbeard to rethink every move. And the Celestial Dragons turn God Valley into their favorite execution ground and laboratory, digging for ancient weapons and Void Century secrets. Every secret that should have been buried instead accelerates the world's descent into final war. But the heart of this change is emotional, not just strategic. God Valley is no longer a rumor from Garp's past. It becomes the stage where bearers of the will of D are broken, tested, and pushed to rise. From Garp and Roger's uneasy alliance, us to Ace chained on the same soil, to Luffy crashing in with Haki blazing after years of brutal training, the island turns into a generational trial. Each D walks onto that rock with a different dream, and each one sees how the system treats them, as tools, monsters, or threats to be erased. In canon, God Valley disappears. The map is scrubbed, the incident buried, the victims reduced to a single forbidden name. But what if the island refuses to disappear? In this world, that erasure fails, as the cruelty cannot be hidden behind a blank spot on a chart. God Valley stands as a visible scar, a monument to the world government's worst sins that no propaganda can fully wash away. How would the world react when pirates, marines, and slaves all remember the same island for different horrors? How would the final war look when every generation's trauma is tied to one place that never left the sea? And beneath all that rock, another question lingers. If God Valley never sank, is Rock's D on Zabek truly gone, or sealed somewhere below, waiting for the last clash to wake him? Does the true final battle happen at Mary Jawas, or on the ruins of the island that started it all? How many lives are saved, and how many are lost, because one island stayed on the map and became a force to be reckoned with? This is only one branch of this ocean. Imagine a world where Ohara also survived, turning the war into a battle over living libraries and living prisons, or a final siege that splits into 3 fronts at God Valley, Mary Jawas, and Laughtail all at once. More timelines, more wars, and more impossible choices are waiting soon enough, so look forward to future dives into these alternate seas of One Piece history.